Hello. I had a chat this morning with Ranjan Balmakumaran, basically just saying that I'm done with the navel gazing. As far as I'm concerned, the Great Reset is what all this is all about. The Great Reset is the rising of the rich against the poor, and Belloc characterized the Reformation, I misquote him, as a rising of the rich against the poor, and that's what we see in the Great Reset. It's the establishment's Brexit, and it's their exit from the social contract. So this is what I had to say, and I'm just going to stream this live, which will sort of save me a job later. So I'm just going to click play here. Continue leaving the current establishment narrative, it's because it's just too painful to consider the other point, the other side of that question, and it's very binary now, is either you believe them or you realize that they've lied about rather a lot of stuff. And that's hard to contemplate when that's a new notion. And so really now I'm really at the same place where David is kind of just sat there and looking at it. I mean, I've said what I've got to say, Ranjan. I'm getting on with my shit, and I you know, I'm not one of the chattering classes. I'm not interested in corks and anything of this shit. It's fucking obvious. You know, get over it or do something about it. That's where I'm at, and my way of doing something about it is to try and get business doing what I do, and you know, I get to talk to people all the time that if they are suffering with the same cognitive dissonance or Stockholm syndrome as a large proportion of the public will be at this point, then it's just a question of you know, gently discussing these things. And you know, what the Times says, what BBC, you know, that's all irrelevant. They've made themselves irrelevant. People are deserting them in droves. The most interesting thing I've noticed recently is people saying, oh, let's go to Parler instead of Twitter, which apparently people do. I've tried to open a Parler account, but I can't. I think they say their servers are slow. Klaus Schwab has just mentioned Mark Zuckerberg in this talk I'm listening to. Either it's winner takes it all, or it's this is no longer Kansas. That's where we're at. So I mean, you know, what's to talk about? It's the minutiae of it, Ranjan, is just hugely boring. Just not of no interest at all to actually getting on and sorting this stuff out. So I wrote a post about stopping Brexit. This is quite early on, about halfway through all of the Brexit shenanigans. And I asked the question, well, what is stopping Brexit? What does that mean? What do you actually have to do to stop Brexit? And it's all wrapped up in the same question. So the question then becomes, stop the Great Reset, right? So the Great Reset is the establishment's Brexit. That's the point, okay? So the reset is the establishment's Great Reset. And who was it? I think it was who was it? It might have been Voltaire said that the Enlightenment was the uprising of the rich against the poor. And in that sense, it is a new enlightenment. I can't remember who exactly, but someone did say that. The Enlightenment was the uprising of the rich against the poor. And again, I think that's what we're seeing. the Great Reset is the establishment's Brexit. And what's it a Brexit from? It's an exit from the social contract and from the mixed economy, open markets way of doing things, collapsing into some sort of either communistic or fascistic, which is the same thing in my book, way of delivering governance at a supranational, indeed global level. And I'm just listening to a talk from Klaus Schwab. This is what he's saying. It doesn't occur to him for a second that there's any other way of doing this stuff. And he's wrong about that. That there are many ways of skinning this cat, and extremists like him, zealots like him, are the sorts of people that throw the baby out with the bathwater, and that's what we're seeing here. There's so much projection going on. The idea that Donald Trump or the guy in Belarus at the moment is an interesting fellow, or Orbán in Hungary. Václav Klaus, we talked about the other day. I mean, he was drummed out of the brownies, but Václav Klaus is worth looking at all these things. And in terms of signposts, huge, great signposts along the way. The Nixon shock, the Brandt report, which is Willy Brandt talking about leveling up between the global south and the rich industrialized global north. A guy called Quilligan did revisiting the Brandt report. Before then, it obviously all starts with limits to growth. It's just so clunky. It's just obvious. If people want to take their blinkers off and have a look at this, everything's there. Escaping the Matrix is a very good book by a guy called Moore. He's another computer guy who retired to Ireland. All this stuff has been laid out before. People have called it conspiracy theory. They've called it this. They've called it that. Well, they're just analysis. Put it this way. Here's a good question: is Das Kapital a conspiracy theory? Have they got that? Obviously this lot wouldn't call it a conspiracy theory now, but is it positing a conspiracy theory of the capitalists against the masses? Maybe it is. Maybe Das Kapital is the biggest conspiracy theory ever written. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I'm done with the navel gazing, Ranjan. I'm completely done with it. I have my say. I can put my say on Web3 if I want to. People are beginning to desert these mainstream platforms, and I rejoice at that because it's regaining their free speech, their right not to be censored. Let the establishment take their ball home. That's effectively what they're saying. The Great Reset is the establishment's Brexit from the social contract, and if they want to take their ball home, then bloody well let them, because as communities around the world, their ball is basically their funny money, their worthless fiat currencies, which is a scam they're going to try and double down on with the digital currency. It's just so bloody obvious. It takes a little bit of time to sit down and do the learning curve, okay? But I defy anyone not to read 3 or 4 of the longer blogs that I have, or even read my poem Globalization Unentangled, or read my trilogy of poems. And it's all in there, and there are they're clearly villains and bad actors in all of this. I'm Klaus Schwab, but I think his hubris and arrogance is breathtaking. Other people's opinions of him will probably vary, and all the way down from him all the way down. you know, Zuckerberg, Bezos, Gates. I mean, there's one. If anyone was due some pretty extreme public opprobrium and piss taking, it's him. But hey, you know, that's where we are. So there isn't anything new. There's nothing new under the sun, Ranjan. None of this stuff is new, and the media, okay, is a distraction. You know, you tune in now and again just to see what their narrative is. It's fairly easy then to see what their talking points, their buzzwords are, and you can go back 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. It doesn't change. It doesn't change. Go back to the, you know, the mid-60s, and again, it's the same old lies, the same old. It's the same damn tricks in the same damn way. I mean, Caitlin Johnson did a post about that with the Kampshulte gas attacks in Syria. For Christ's sake, you know, how? It's not that people are stupid. It's just that if you're in one of the Stockholm syndrome crowd, it's too painful to look at, and clearly. It takes a little while to get off. You know, the truth will set you free, but first it will piss you off. You know, there are aphorisms about this stuff aplenty. So, yeah, like I say, I mean, I've got a business to run and some deals to get on and do, and trying to figure out this new, you know, what is the banking landscape going to be in the next year? That's the question that I'm interested in, and the damage that's going to be done by lockdown in the UK economy, how that affects people like me, entrepreneurial sort of, you know, property developers. You know, clearly all our markets require, well, not all of them, but certainly at the starter home or budget end of the market, people require debt to buy these things. Is the debt going to be there for them? That's the most interesting question to me in my business life at the moment. But of course, I'm also deeply concerned about rushed vaccines being pushed into people's bodies for profit by conflicted plutocrats who sit on quasi-government organisations with massive, obvious conflicts of interest. You know, it's crazy. I looked at Ross Perot in one of the debates. It was a three-way debate in the
1992.
Yeah, that election. So there's Clinton, there's Bush the first, and Ross Perot's talking about lobbyists in Washington then, and it's all about NAFTA. It's all about these trade deals. You know, that it's. Do you remember the famous thing when Tony Blair came on after Princess Diana died, and he said, you know, now is not the time for sound bites, but I feel the hand of fate upon my shoulder. Do you remember that?
Yeah, the hand of history. Yeah,
I think it was Diana. It might be.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you know, someone needs to stand up and remind the world of the empty rhetoric of people like Tony Blair, who's been given a platform again. And of course, you know, you've got Boris wants to be world king. You've got Blair that wants to be world president or something. You've got Schwab. I mean, what does he want to be? The fucking Oracle at Delphi or something? Certainly some sort of E4. You know, come on. It's beyond absurd. It's got beyond a joke. And it's just bloody obvious. And holding up one shitty little mainstream media article, cork sniffing over the fluff of someone else's belly button gazing, and then having a kind of a playoff between the two, and then sort of saying, well, I'll pick that one, that's my side. Not good enough, you know. You're wasting your time if you spend any time looking at that. I mean, tune into UK columns, news today, and get some proper analysis. If you want to see, you know, different sides of the equation or whatever, you know, watch some David Icke videos, watch some Alex Jones, get some of the old videos off the internet that have been banned. Watch some James Corbett. Watch some Tony Gosling. Look at the arguments between, say, Anna Breeze and Kate Shirwami or whatever. Listen to some Gareth Icke. Listen to whoever you've been told not to listen to. Go and listen to them, and listen with open ears, an open mind, and an open heart, and see what these people are actually saying, not what you're being told they're saying. The same thing, go back to all the classical works of philosophy and political economy and read them. Read Plato's Republic and see what it actually says, not what you've been told to think it says. Go and read some Cicero, go and read some Lucian, go and read some actual stuff written at the time of the Roman Empire collapsing. Don't rely on Gibbon's Rise and Fall of the Roman Empire, which is written with his own particular view. That's my point. Inform yourself. You're on lockdown. You use the time to do some reading, enrich your mind. And listen to some things you don't want to listen to, and give them some consideration. And fuck the mainstream media. Just rip it up. Well, don't burn books or anything like that. Just watch that too, but hold it up against something else. Compare it with something else. That's the thing. No one has a monopoly on the truth. But anyway, that's where I'm at. But yeah, I'm just trying to get on with some work, Ranjan. Like I say, I've got a business to run, and yeah. So
all right, well, brilliant. Well, thanks for talking to me. I will call you again if that's okay at some point. And,
yeah, let's keep in touch and all the rest of it. But I mean, let's talk about the 2:30 at Doncaster or something. I mean, the US election is going to play out in the courts, and I think that if it goes the full distance, Donald Trump will do another term. That's my view. And the establishment don't want that, and they'll move heaven and earth to take it. But there's not an asymmetric advantage in favour of the establishment when an establishment maverick that has the funding, if it goes to law, it's an even fight. It won't be that much longer before we start hearing about how Trump has all along stuffed the balance of the Supreme Court. And there's been lots of arguments about the replacement to Ruth Ginsburg and all the rest of it. Well, so we'll see. And we've been through it in the UK because we saw all the prorogation arguments in the UK Supreme Court. And we shouldn't have a Supreme Court. We should still have a House of Lords, a Court of Appeal, and an independent judiciary. The very idea of a Supreme Court in the UK modelled along European lines and to fit in with European law goes hugely against the whole basis of the British Constitution. And the person who started that was Tony Blair. And basically, he's a traitor. Not only should he be on trial in The Hague for war crimes related to weapons of mass destruction and the Iraq invasion, he should also be up in front of a common law court for treason against the Crown with respect to establishing the Supreme Court in the UK.
May I say something that is a link between the Supreme Court and some of the other stuff to do with lockdown? Yesterday, there was a tweet going around, which was the Times Radio's Stig Abel interviewing Matt Hancock. It was a bit puffy, but still, this bit was interesting.
Hancock is such a moron.
Yeah, but hold on. I'm just saying that the interview was in relation to the Sunday Times pieces about Kate Bingham, the one who basically she's the daughter of Lord Bingham, who created the Supreme Court.
Okay. Is she the one with the big PR budget?
exactly, the one who's married to the Jesse Norman, who was always said to be like the next PM and stuff like that. And she basically, Hancock was congratulating her, even though the Times had done all this stuff revealing the big PR stuff. And he then said, he mentioned the MHRA being deployed for this rapid one of two vaccines that's going to be used. And he said the NHS, and again he said, and the armed forces for making sure that the vaccine is done.
Listen, mate.
But it's interesting the way it's the Supreme Court.
Can I just say, right? George Carlin said, if voting changed anything, they wouldn't let you do it, right? Okay. Similarly, if that's in the Times or that's in the mainstream media and they're talking about that, is anything of any note or any moment actually discussed in public by these people? No. So, the only question to ask about that stuff is what part of the overall narrative does it concern? Is there any sort of indication of a change of momentum into the clear momentum that we know that's going forward here? And that is that they want to have a mass vaccination program for whatever reason. Now, that's the only question worth asking. All that other stuff, oh, she's this person's that person, this person, that the establishment is shot through with nepotism should not absolutely shock anybody. Anybody still labouring under the impression that we live in any sort of meritocracy, frankly, has not been paying attention for the last 25 or 30 years. I mean, for goodness sake. I mean,
well, I mean, given that I've been, we've been in conversation for a while, I think you will recognise that I have paid attention to what you've been saying.
Oh, yeah, I'm not saying you're not. I'm not saying you're not paying attention to me, or I'm not paying attention to you. That's what people do, and that's great. I've learned a hell of a lot from our discussions. But what I'm saying is this, right? The time for action is now. With all this stuff that we've learned from each other, right? We've got to ask ourselves this question. So what the fuck are we going to do with it? What are we going to do? Are we just going to sit down, pat ourselves on the back and say, oh, we figured that one out? Well, actually, there's another step here, and that step is, right, now, with what we think we know, we need to say, right, here it is, that's what that is, and this is what we think we should do about it. And have that discussion. But what I see, and what Twitter and social media is an absolute genius about, is basically to split hairs down to the nth degree and to keep doing it and make people think that actually means they're doing something. No, the whole idea of having a discourse, trying to figure something out, identifying a problem, discussing what that problem actually is, what the causes of it might have been. The next question is, what do we do about it? We don't wait in a Rovian way for the actors in history to actually do whatever hell they please and then discuss, oh, right, oh, they did that about that. Oh, what do we think about that? And start criticizing that. No. We have to shape our own vision of where we see the world that we are going to be living in the future going. So the idea is that reality is an emergent quality of the universe, and as individual actors within that, we're not subject to some predetermined outcome. Okay, so this gets back down to Graeber's famous thing in his paper in the Commoner, which actually dealt with the Kerry election and George Bush II in the 2000.
Yeah, why Kerry lost.
Why Kerry lost, that whole thing, right? And we're still dealing with those same questions now, and David Graeber's no longer with us. I mean, I'd implore anyone to read that essay, okay? Because he could have written, you can just change the names in it, and it's the same question now. the question should be, why did Biden lose? That is the real question, because make no mistake, Biden lost, and the fraud investigations will show that to be the case, right? And let's ask ourselves, why are we still asking the same questions? Now, I'll tell you what I did yesterday. I listened to the debate between Nixon and Kennedy in 1960. Hey, and guess what? Here's a fucking surprise. All the same fucking questions. Why are we still asking those same questions when people like Klaus Schwab is laying out his vision of what we all should be doing? You know, who made Klaus Schwab world king? I fucking didn't. I didn't vote for him. So fuck you, Klaus Schwab. For God's sake, you know, we're a free people still in the UK. You know, if you don't know about the Peasants' Revolt, have a look at it. You know, get out the Charter of the Forest, get out Magna Carta, and see what your real birthright is. You know, learn about the enclosure of the common lands and why, if you're stuck in a high rise in Britain with no prospects, why your birthright is actually written into the social contract. Bearers gave up their right to self-provision from the common lands and the forest. Read the Charter of the Forest, right? That for industrial society and urbanized society to take off, people fought wars over the dynamic that was going on there, and a accommodation was made to allow the concentrations of capital to take place that did take place. I mean, Karl Marx talks about all this stuff in Das Kapital. The problem is when you break these things down into their components, okay, it's a long process. I mean, reading all the volumes of Das Kapital does take quite a lot of time. There are courses online. I mean, do what I did, do David Harvey's course. It's online. You can read Capital with David Harvey, who's, you know, the world's foremost academic Marxist or whatever, and at least then you know what the hell Marx was going on about, right? And then critique that. It's a critique of capitalism, you know. Well, obviously that was written in the mid 19th century, in the 1850s, 60s, whatever, and you know, we're now in 2020, for fuck's sake. You know, of course, the production curve, if you like, has moved out substantially since then, and so I would say Bucky Fullmeister is much more relevant than Karl Marx to production, in that we can do so much more with so much less with modern material science. And all these clowns talking about the digital stuff and all the rest of it, in the physical sciences, the hard sciences and material sciences, it's not only computer science and the digital realm that has made a difference to the prospects of our lives going forward. So has material science and the possibilities of doing more with less. And that includes doing more with less energy as efficiencies increase. And yet these clowns are telling us we have to believe that carbon dioxide is the biggest problem facing mankind. I mean, Schwab in his talk just now mentioned something that was introduced by some guy, the Anthropocene. Now, I first came across that term in about 2011, talking with some sort of, I think he was a professor of physics or something, on a philosophy group in LinkedIn. It may be an economics group, talking about the Anthropocene and about multi-planet living, and we need to colonize these things and all the rest of it. And you know, he had a right go at me because I told him I thought he was nuts, in a very polite way. I mean, it's not my discussion with the guy.
Who's this?
Oh, I think he's a Romanian professor of physics or something. Yeah, he's just another guy that thinks he's fucking cleverer than the rest of us. And the simple fact is, you know, every ordinary person has incredible insights and the ability to you know, people are clever. They just are. People are clever. And when people talk to each other, they come, you know, better than one. Hey, who fucking knew? Who knew? Jesus Christ. Anyway, look, it drives me nuts. Anyway, I've got to get on and do some business, Ranjan, like I say. So
yeah, sure, okay, fine. Well, great talking to you. Anything in relation to this, I will blog that I haven't told you, and yeah,
it's about time you download it to your channel or something.
maybe one of what?
One of our Skype chats. I uploaded the one we did the other day to my bit. I think, or we've streamed some of them live, but you know, I mean, I can see you recording it, so
Yeah, no worries. I've just been, you know, shall we say, not fully organised with respect to this, but yes, it is about time.
How's your French student going with his?
You know, Roger, I have put them up before.
Yeah. Okay, no, but not for ages. At the beginning, you few of them, but I mean, you know, there we are. Yeah. Anyway, mate,
were you about to ask me something?
I was going to ask you how it went with your new student. With
yeah, very well, thank you. Yeah, there's another class at 9:30. It's going really well. I'll tell you about it next time.
Okay. All right, mate. Up with that. Cheers, Ranjan. Take care. Bye. So, right, that was my discussion with Ranjan earlier. I wanted to just wrap up with that and say I refer to a number of things on my blog. Here's my blog here. This is the blog I did called Meet the Fuggers, Brexit, the Euro and Clueless Elites, which basically goes through quite a lot of this stuff. And that's where this quote comes. This guy here is Jacob Fugger, who cornered the market for silver back in the 1500s, fine, but in 1367. So meet the Fuggers. Hans Fugger, a weaver, founded the House of Fugger in 13. Hold on, you can't see what I'm reading here. Let me just sort this out. Where are we? Let me see where I'm at. Have I crashed here? It looks like I have too many windows open. Hoi, hoi, hoi. No, here we are. Look, right. Okay, let me just put this one over here so I can see where I'm up to. Right, okay, so I'm going to share my screen again here. Share screen, and I'm going to share this one now. Share. Right, here we are. Right, so I'm just going to whiz through a couple of windows. Now, my blog, here's the statistics on my blog. I did a blog yesterday, Ballotpedia Overview of the US election, and the legal status of various actions on that. It's actually been the most read or accessed blog that I've done since this blog's been on WordPress. You can see it's 390 people have looked at that one. But this is a search on my blog for the term Enlightenment Rising of the Rich. Now, I just read you where that quote came from. So it's in this blog here, and I did this blog in, it's got the date on it up here. Where are we? That was in February the 19th, 2017. Now, I referred to a blog I did on stopping Brexit. So I'm just going to stopping Brexit, see what comes up there. Let's just searching that. Let's meet the Fuggers, and there is a search box in the blog, so let's just put that in on here too. Do bear with me. I prefer doing these things loud. I
quite honestly, I don't do this professionally, and my blog has always been a notebook for my own research. So search and stopping Brexit. So stopping Brexit. So let's have a look at this stopping Brexit in the context of stopping the Great Reset. Because as I make the claim here that the Great Reset is actually the establishment's Brexit from the social contract. And I think that Belloc's characterization of the reformation, of the rising of the rich against the poor, the reformation obviously being a religious reformation. Have I got that one right? Anyway, right, stop Brexit, what does it mean? Is the EU reformable? Which is the tail and which is the dog? So this was a conversation which I had regarding this question of stop Brexit. There was so this is all from August 2017. So where are we? Right, the EU does not need to be reformed. The extent to which it pursues neoliberal ideology and enshrines neoliberal dogmas into the EU constitutional fabric are all well set out in this Corporate Watch publication. So then you can click on that and you get to Corporate Watch's publication. It says error not found. Publications, it's available on that's a good one, A to Z of Green Capitalism. Here it is here, look, False Dilemmas, a critical guide to the Eurozone crisis. You'll find that on ISSU, which is a online publishing thing. It's a very good report. So, right, quoting from page 83 of Changes in EU Structures, using the crisis as a good excuse. Right, okay. Summarised below are the major changes to the EU structure. They are the precursors to two key features of greater integration, the fiscal compact and the banking union, explained in more depth below. And then it just goes through what's been happening in EU governance, which really is a blueprint, if you like, for the Green New Deal. Now, this is the Klaus Schwab talk on the fourth industrial revolution that I said to Ranjam I'd been watching.
So
there we are. So this is him talking at the Chicago Council on Global Affairs. Unfortunately, it doesn't give a link to the original upload of this. So I haven't actually gone into that conference to see who else was talking. And this is where he mentioned mention of the Anthropocene, the guy that introduced him has got something to do with that. So let's just get back to this stop Brexit. What does it mean business? Okay, so then I just want to go here. And this here then is Ursula von der Leyen in January of this year introducing.
It's such an honor and such a pleasure to be part of the opening ceremony of the 50th World Economic Forum. And dear Klaus, for 50 years.
There you go. So this is on January the 20th, 2020. Ursula von der Leyen delivered a speech in Davos during the World Economic Forum. And then I also, I mean, it's only 15 minutes long, and I cut in some Dr. Strangelove stuff. But that's what the Great Reset is about. That's the trajectory we're on. And so my point is, right, what are we going to do about it? Right? Stop Brexit was a question which was posed. Brexit, the Great Reset, is the establishment's Brexit from the social contract. What do we do about it? So, I mean, if you haven't seen this, you haven't been paying attention. If I just go here and search my mail here, World Economic Forum. Okay, I registered on their website. Here we go. So this is their, right, visit strategic intelligence. Early on in the pandemic response, there was a reference to this, saying this is probably the most important video you'll ever see. And it was the introductory video to this website. And here it is here, look. So this is all of the different headings and the World Economic Forum. So, you know, these are all issues which they are positing as relevant to this scamdemic. So here we are, look, Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine highly effective. What do they actually say about the US election? Let's have a look. Let's see if we can search this somewhere. English, we don't want that. We want to do, we want to search. Just accept cookies here. Oh, yeah. Let's just have a look at the United States here a second. See, governance, future orientation. Hold on, what's this then? Geoeconomics, emerging multinationals, future economic progress. Pursuit. Inventing new modes of governance. Interesting. Anyway, look, I'm probably going to end up clicking around this a bit, and I don't know. I'm not going to have time to write a great post on this. But if anyone sees this video, what I will do is I'll just stick some links in the bottom of the descriptions. It'll be on both my YouTube channels. And I'll probably download it and upload it to the BitChute channel if I get time. But that's just me signing off here. And, you know, the time for action is now. You know, open your fucking eyes. Roger, over and out.